What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops here on day one of March Madness. Just a few minutes left of Georgia and Gonzaga here. Otherwise, all the earlier games have finished. Steve, Jake, and myself, fellas, we are quite literally in the thick of it. We had a bunch of games before the pod. We have one ending now, and then a fat slate after the pod, and just anything and everything is basketball for the foreseeable future for us boys. So I know you're feeling great, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. How are we feeling, boys?
I was telling you guys earlier, I'm feeling fantastic. The YouTube TV quad box mixed with March Madness is absolutely life-changing. We got it on the big screen. If you see me glancing over in the first about 5 minutes of a recording, I'm sweating the Georgia Gonzaga over. I need about 5 more points right now. Let's hope we get it. But I'm doing great. I wasn't able to lock in for the first couple games. We had to do a little bit of work today. Couldn't take both days off. But I got tomorrow off, gentlemen. I'm going to the bars with my buddies, and we are just locking in for 12 straight hours of college basketball. I can't wait. I'm loving the look of the night slate tonight, too. I think it's going to be a much more, I think, eventful night slate than the day games. The day games kind of felt they weren't your typical March Madness, right? There's some blowouts here. There wasn't really any big moments yet. So I'm excited to see what we still have to come.
Yeah, it's been this should be a national holiday. Thursday and Friday, really. You shouldn't have to. I mean, I had to work from home though. Life is nice in that regard. So it should be an option for everybody. I believe it's disgusting that it isn't. But you know what it is. What it is. I think that is. We saved the night slate for everybody. I think that's what that's right, Steve. The afternoon was like an appetizer now. The whole world is off of work. We're all piling it onto our couches or into the bar or wherever you're going to line up for this tip-off of Tennessee soon. And I think it'll deliver tonight. There are some really fun games tonight, all the way up to the late games. Like, I'm locked in for Michigan and UC San Diego when that goes on Thursday night. So
the late night games might be the best ones. The second half of the slate tonight, I'm excited to see St. John's, Omaha. I'm excited to see UCLA, Utah State should be a good game. You talked about Michigan, UC San Diego, and then Texas Tech, UNC, Wilmington. Wilmington's a fun team. They can score, and you guys know how I feel about Texas Tech if you watched last week's episode. I love this Texas Tech team.
They do.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We have, just a great grouping of games here after we record, and let's just jump into what happened earlier. Steve just hit his over. Breaking news.
Here we go.
Over just saying Georgia and Gonzaga.
8 missed shots in the final 3 minutes, but we got there.
Crazy. Yeah, we had some boring games, some good games, but we started off here with Louisville and Creighton. Steve, we were talking about it before we hopped on here, but maybe we overlooked Creighton a little bit. Louisville just didn't look like they got up. It looked like Creighton kind of had it from the jump. They had the energy. They were making shots early. They were shooting 50% from the field for most of the first half as a team. They were hitting everything from three. It looked like Louisville was kind of giving them the three to start the game. And then ultimately, Creighton just kind of ran away with this thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's Creighton's motto right there, right? They live and die by the three and rebounding. And I think in the first half, they were shooting 61% from three, and I think they out-rebounded Louisville by, I want to say it was like 11. I think it was like 9 offensive rebound difference, and they were getting the second chance points. And, it's funny because we really did overlook them. Now, I am biased. I'm not a huge Creighton fan. I hate Ryan Cockburn. I don't like Creighton. I don't really love this team because I usually do like teams that kind of play the shoot the three and get as many boards as you can. I just don't like this Creighton team. But you could tell from the start, Dunny, that it was just they had too much size for Louisville. And I think that was the big thing I kind of whiffed on looking into this game, as I felt like Louisville playing pretty much a home game, right? Pretty much playing a home game here. They're a physical, tough team all year long. I thought they were going to be the ones that kind of bully Creighton, and they weren't really able to do that. Creighton just kind of used their size, and it's demoralizing when you want to get into the game, the fans want to get into the game, and a team shooting 60% on you from beyond the arc. And when they're missing those threes, they're getting the offensive rebound. So it was a really tough start for Louisville. And you could kind of tell once they were down by about 15 early on, they just could never get that game within single digits. They got it to 10, they got it to 12. They were playing better in the second half, but every time you thought Louisville was going to go on a little bit of a run, Creighton hit a three. I mean, that's Creighton for you. And yeah, you know what? We overlooked that. I hope they get killed by Auburn.
I feel like it's likely that'll happen. I was shocked too. You know, the crowd was going crazy early on. It was back and forth a little bit, like until it got, I think the lead, it was like 28-21 Creighton, and you're like, okay, like you see Louisville can battle back into this, and I think they did a little bit, but then Creighton just blew it open and gets up by like 15, and they never looked back. And it was just, Louisville had no way to stop the bleeding. Like it just was like, and it really just felt like the onslaught at the end of the first half. The second half felt more even, like more like the beginning of the game, but they just had that lapse, Louisville, for such a long stretch, and they could not do anything to pull themselves out of it. So Creighton moves on to probably go get decimated by Auburn, who they weren't in a tricky situation, but they weren't flying high for the first 25 minutes of this game against Alabama State, I would say.
No, I mean, Alabama State had it within one almost near the end of the first half. And when you see a 1 versus 16, especially a team like Auburn that we talked about has lost 3 of 4 coming into the tournament, right? And I told you guys 2 of those games I felt like were meaningless because they'd already clinched a SEC regular season title. They didn't really need to win them. Obviously, they cared, but they didn't need to win them. And their 3 of 4 losses were against great opponents, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. One on the road, one at home, and then Tennessee in the neutral court in the SEC tournament. So it was like, all right, I'm not too worried. That first half, I know they pulled away in the second half, but that's a big red flag there. I think you talked about it, Donnie, last week. Is sometimes it's hard to just flick that switch back on, right? You're struggling, or not even struggling, but you were able to coast a little bit. And I know we could bring this into the NBA too, because Dunny, we kind of saw that with the Celtics 2 years ago, not the year they won, but 2 years ago, where they were just kind of coasting a little bit, and it was hard for them to turn that switch on. That's kind of what it looked like for Auburn in the first half. They were able to pull away because obviously the talent gap between them and Alabama State is massive, and eventually the good team's going to pull away. But I think if you have Auburn in your Final Four, a championship, you have them winning it all, that's a concerning start, because you wanted Auburn to come flying out. You wanted them to come flying out. Not that, do they still have rust? Are they not, have they not flicked the switch back to turn the speed? Because we talked about it. This is the team that had one of the best resumes ever in college, but 16 quad one wins. And you're telling me Alabama State's giving them a game for 20 minutes?
Yeah,
it's concerning.
Checking the score the first couple minutes, I was like, oh, maybe this Alabama State team is just even better than we think, even better than making their way in a 16 seed. But for the score to be that close all the way up until the half, like you talked about, Steve, what was a little alarming. I'm sure there's people out there who have Auburn winning the national championship on their bracket and shaking in their boots a little. But just a moment of flowers here for Alabama State, because that game to get them into the tournament was electric.
Yeah,
that last second full court pass to take the lead. It sucks they're going home so early, but they had their moment, and that's what happens if you get in. You're probably going to have to play 1 seed or a much better talent team in general, and that's what they ran into. Auburn was able to pull through, but yeah, that was Alabama State's fate, and it happened, and we saw it in real time. Auburn, I think they'll be all right, but yeah, it's definitely not encouraging for people who had them making a huge run here. Someone who I thought might make a little Cinderella run was High Point. They were kind of turning into a fan favorite the couple of days before, or earlier this week, I should say. We talked about liking them over Purdue. I know none of us are the biggest Purdue guys. They just, for whatever reason, they didn't have enough today. Purdue kind of held on. You mentioned it, Steve. There's some boring action in the first slate of games. This was kind of boring because I think people just thought High Point was going to stand up a little more.
Yeah, I think the issue with High Point is no one really could step up for them today. I think their top score was 12 points. They only had 2 guys in double digits. And throughout the year, you've kind of seen High Point as a balanced offensive attack, but a lot of guys who could step up when you needed them, and no one was able to step up to. And also, too, and I want to apologize because he is one of my favorite players in the country, but Braden Smith, we kind of just forgot about him because, like you said, Dunny, the hype was building on how High Point and how much we liked it. But Braden Smith is one of the few true playmaking point guards in college basketball that just makes the team around him better. 20 points, 6 assists. High Point was in the game. For most of the game, Purdue kind of pulled away a little bit at the end, but they were in the game. The thing with Purdue, which made it so hard for High Point to kind of stay in the game with them, is like they didn't have anyone step up and have that, crazy magical March Madness game. But Purdue also didn't really make that many mistakes against High Point. They had 45 rebounds compared to High Point's 24. That's a 21 rebound advantage. And I told you guys, the way you get these upsets, the way you get these Cinderella stories, you gotta at least be close in the rebound advantage, and you gotta probably win the turnover battle. And High Point just wasn't able to do that against Purdue. Purdue only had 7 turnovers and a plus 21 rebound margin. It's going to be hard to upset a team like that. But regardless, you would have think it would have been a bigger blowout. High Point played a competitive game against Purdue. And it's one of those things where you're never going to remember this High Point team. You're never going to remember it because they lost in the first round. Nothing was really memorable from this game. But
yeah,
they played a competitive game against Purdue. And it's a good Purdue team. They lost a lot of size, but that clearly didn't affect them in this game. I did not expect them to have 21 more rebounds.
Yeah.
Oh man. It was for years we've wanted to just make jokes at Purdue's expense for obvious and very fair reasons. And you look at this situation coming into this game, and it's like, okay, Edey's gone. This feels Purdue could do this again. We could get old Purdue again. Like, wouldn't it just be fun to have old Purdue? They didn't show up today, though. They showed up, put on their working hats, and it was just a great Purdue performance for a team who struggled down the stretch. But they were saying, like, they kept harping on it during the broadcast. If you were listening at all, like, it's a new Purdue, it's a new season, and they acted like it. They didn't look like recent Purdue. They looked like a solid squad. We'll see what they can do further on, but yeah.
I mean, Purdue also.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I know Purdue lost a lot. They did go to the championship last year, right? We love making fun of them for falling short, but this is also a team that did make a run last year, and I know they lost a lot, but there's a lot of guys on that team that were part of that run, so. They're experienced. They know how it feels to lose and win in this tournament.
Yeah, they sure do. And someone who knew how to win today was Houston because they did not let their 16 seed hang around, and they got out to a lead in a hurry and won this game by 43 points. So
yeah,
that's the Houston Cougars for you.
Yeah, Houston just beats up bad teams. I'm not going to say SIU is a bad team because they made the tournament, but they're not a great offensive team. And if you're not a great offensive team going against Houston, good luck. I cannot wait, guys. Probably my favorite round 2 matchup. We talked about this in our March Madness little bracket show. But after seeing how both these teams played today, Dunny, Houston versus Gonzaga, give me the bucket of popcorn and just strap me in front of the TV for 2.5 hours for that, because that is going to be an absolute war. I'd be criminal that Gonzaga got an 8 seed. That made no sense whatsoever, and I'm glad that they proved it. They were up 30-5 against Georgia 10 minutes into the game. But Houston versus Gonzaga, I am so ready for that because I think either team who wins that game has a good chance to go to the Elite Eight and honestly the Final Four.
It's kind of funny because with that result, with Georgia playing there, we so much talk about the SEC going into this tournament, and we see a team like Gonzaga who's just been in this tournament every year, right? And so it's like, okay, SEC, are you really that good? Like, this isn't even the best Gonzaga team. Can you handle them? They failed that first test in this, and I'm not saying this is like a story of like the SEC as a whole, like, oh my God, the SEC is trash because Georgia lost to Gonzaga. But there are like, all the matchups are really interesting. It's kind of like bowl season. Like it's going to be interesting to see how the SEC plays in the first round. On the other side, like Oklahoma and UConn. Like UConn, yes, not a great UConn team, we would all admit this year, but is Oklahoma like a good team, or were they just in the SEC and got inflated because of that, and they're going to get smacked by UConn too? It's interesting. I don't know.
The only thing I kind of disagree with that, Jake, is I think the SEC proved themselves out of conference earlier this year. I mean, Oklahoma went 13-0 out of conference, and they beat some good teams. So all these teams played very well out of conference. That's why they got here, because they were able to kind of stack up those wins despite having 10 to 12 conference losses. And I think the big one here is I'm not taking as much away from Georgia getting killed by Gonzaga as I am that just Gonzaga just was underseeded. I mean, this is a team that we're talking about that was top 10 in KenPom, that I think was the 9th net ranked team, and they got an 8 seed, guys. An 8 seed. Yep. This is a team, too, that we saw, they didn't have their best start to the year, but they were playing better as the year went on, and they looked great down the stretch in the West Coast tournament. So I just think this was an underseeded team, a mistake by the committee, and honestly, like the way that Clemson played today, why wasn't Gonzaga the 5 seed and Clemson the 8 seed? Yeah. Because I look at this Gonzaga team, and I'm like, how are they leaving them out of at least like the top 6 seeds in the country? There's not 24 teams better than Gonzaga. No way. No shot. And you have them as an 8 seed? I mean, I feel bad for Houston. This is not going to be an easy game.
Yeah, definitely not, especially where you're coming off a 43-point win, probably feeling good. Coach is going to go watch the tape on Gonzaga and be like, oh, shit. This isn't an easy 16 seed that we're going to be running into. But, yeah, shout out Gonzaga. I did hear this fun fact on part of my take today. Georgia is the only school where the football team has won a national championship, and the basketball program of a school that the football team's won a national championship has not even won a tournament game.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's kind of crazy. I didn't know that.
And Georgia's like, not known as a basketball school, but like Anthony Edwards went there, right? Like they've had some talent over the years.
You'd think they'd sneak a win somewhere in 20 something years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
A little fun fact there about Georgia basketball as they're on their way out of the tournament. What do we have left here? Wisconsin, they took care of business. Badgers, the Wisconsin beat Montana. This is I feel like Wisconsin's kind of a sneaky 3 seed. I think them maybe not winning their conference tournament. I think people maybe got a little turned off by Wisconsin there, but Wisconsin's a really, really good basketball team this year.
Dark horse Final Four team, and I think you're completely right about people getting turned off, because a lot of people only watch kind of Saturday, Sunday of the conference championships. Mm-hmm. And if you watched the Sunday game where Wisconsin played, which everyone watches that game before Selection Sunday, they shot 23% against Michigan. And it looked like this was just your typical Wisconsin, not a good offensive team. They just they kind of rely on just maybe getting some boards or getting to the free throw line. And that's not what this Wisconsin team is. I called them the most fun Wisconsin team in a long time, because they really are. They shoot the 3 ball well. They are historically good from the free throw line, which is as important as anything when it comes to March Madness. They got John Tonje, who's an incredible guy who could take over any game whatsoever. He's a threat to score 30 any night, and they got good size. And I look at this Wisconsin team, and they kind of showed all that versus Montana. Montana had it somewhat within reach in the first half, and the good teams just kind of pull away as the game goes on, and that's what this Wisconsin team did. And they're not going to shoot themselves out of any game. I mean, as a team, they're shooting 82.6% from the free throw line. They don't turn over the ball that much. If you want to beat Wisconsin, you have to play well. They're not going to, put themselves in a spot where they're going to beat themselves.
Yeah. No, so shout out Wisconsin there. I think the last game we had early slate was Clemson versus McNeese, and I mean, Steve, you had it when we did the bracket. Clemson just did not show up. They just, the score is close. If you didn't watch the game, it was like the last 30 seconds they were hitting some desperation threes. So
they had like 4 in a row. Just every 3 in a row.
What the score at the end of the first half? That's just disgusting. That's embarrassing.
And McNeese had like a a weird bullshit turnover during that stretch of the comeback. So yeah, if anyone's just watching box scores, this game was not that close, even a little bit. And
No.
yeah, this is
March.
This is a fun McNeese
Yeah.
team, man. Like they're going dancing.
Yeah, what we talked about, earlier this week, what we really liked about this McNeese team is that this was a team that made the tournament last year and got punched in the mouth by Gonzaga. And what's funny is that was kind of everyone's trendy upset pick last year. I don't know if you guys remember. That was the 5-12 matchup. And a lot of people liked McNeese because I think they had 30 wins, the classic 30-win mid-major team coming in. And they got punched in the mouth, but they brought pretty much everyone back. They have a great coach. And that was something they kind of learned from. And I kind of like that. I like those teams that have been there and kind of learned, okay, this is kind of how the tournament's going to go. We're actually going to be prepared for it this year. Very tough team, very physical team, McNeese is. And they played a Clemson team that I never understood. Like, they beat Duke this year. I don't know how they did it. The numbers loved Clemson this year. But I told you guys on Sunday, I was like, I watched this team and the eye tested. The eyes don't match what the numbers say. And sometimes you just got to go with your eyes. I watched Clemson a handful of times this year, and I'm like, this team just struggles to get buckets easily. And as you said it, Jake, it clearly was the case that they had 13 points at halftime. I don't care who you're playing. 13?
Yeah.
13 is crazy, dude.
Yeah, imagine being a fan traveling for the game. Like at the half, you can't even be like, "Oh, we'll get them in the second half." Like you're staring at 13 points while you're going to concessions to get a fucking hot dog or popcorn. That's not very encouraging going into the second half.
13. 13. Can you imagine if they finished the game with 40 points? Like even 40, like that's even doubling up what they score in the first half. Like they obviously did a lot better than that, but this was that's dire straits. 13.
I mean, Jake, if we're talking about it, they got their 20th point with 14 minutes to go in the second half. They weren't even scoring well in the second half, and it shows they had 67 points. They were at let me find it for you guys. They were at 53 points with 47 seconds to go. They scored 14 points in the final 50 seconds on just desperation threes and everything. This was a team that was held to a 50-point game against McNeese. It was ugly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Terrible.
It was gross. The biggest star on McNeese too is the team manager. Amir Khan. This guy is
Amir's a beast.
Everywhere, bro. He's getting posted by SportsCenter after they won. The cheerleaders had his face on their socks for this game. This kid is a star, and Amir Khan and McNeese are advancing to the next round. So shout out, big upset there. I mean, Steve kind of had it. Clemson maybe shouldn't have been the 5 seed, but this is March, right? And these things happen. So. Awesome. That was the early games, late games. We'll just run through what's going on. Tennessee, Warford's on right now. Kansas, Arkansas, Texas A&M and Yale, Missouri, Drake, UCLA, Utah State, St. John's, Omaha, Michigan, UC San Diego, Texas Tech, and UNCW.
It's gonna be a good Friday night slate. I'm excited for this one. I think we're gonna get a lot more competitive games than the afternoon ones. You guys got any upsets? Are you looking at these right now? Any quick upset?
I've been on Drake. I have Drake in my bracket. I think that's my only upset in this slate of games.
I have Drake, I believe, as well.
I have Arkansas.
I guess. I have. I mean, UC San Diego is my wagon. I hitched to at this point, so I'm there.
Yeah.
Nothing else really, though. I think because I'm with you on the Texas Tech train here. I got St. John's handle in Omaha. Yeah.
I don't know why. I got a weird feeling Omaha makes it a game. I think St. John's wins.
I agree.
I think St. John's wins. I think St. John's wins, but I have I just feel like that's 215. Everyone loves St. John's, Patino, this tough physical style. And this Omaha team has been shooting with confidence for 2 straight months. I mean, this is a team that didn't even look like they were going to come out of the summit at the start of the year. And they've just been shooting with confidence. I just feel like they might make it a game. I can't
Okay.
bet it because,
Okay.
I can't bet New York teams in New York. But that plus 18.5
Mm.
feels so enticing. It's like one of those where you take like the first half and then you hedge it with St. John's second half spread because that's when they kind of figure it out. But I just feel like they make it a game. I'm also on UC San Diego, and then I've told you guys this. We argued a little bit of this. I'm anti-Drake. I love Missouri tonight.
It's tough to hear, but
I'm sorry.
Tough
Sorry.
to
No,
I gotta be.
it's fine.
I gotta be honest, Tony. Tony gives his upset pick Drake. He loves St. John's, and I'm like, I like Omaha and Missouri a lot tonight.
Yeah, I didn't know this
That's so
segment was
funny.
just shit on Dunny's picks here. That's weird. I thought it said late games. But no, yeah, all should be great games. I agree with you I think the 18.5, that playing with that number with Omaha isn't really a bad bet there. I think because you're right, everyone is drinking the St. John's Kool-Aid. Like everyone is like, oh no, St. John's Patino. Like I'm guilty of it too, but I think it's even more so than I would have anticipated. And it's just crazy. I mean, we talked about that region though when we were filling out the bracket. Like I have to have Michigan State and St. John's playing each other so early in this tournament, and I really like both these teams, and they're coming out of the same region.
So you mean Texas Tech, right? Texas Tech and St. John's, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Because Michigan State's 2C. Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah. But yeah, they're just great teams in this entire region. Both these teams play tonight, so we get our real test. Is there any other storylines for college ball you guys want to talk about, or any tomorrow games? Or
I mean, we glanced over the game. Bill Self versus John Calipari, Kansas, Arkansas.
Yeah, it's about to tip off in a minute.
Yeah, appointment television for that
game. Maybe winner gets Patino. I mean, fun stuff.
Yeah, we pointed out in the bracket. I really
fun
hope
stuff.
we get that.
Who'd you guys pick? I guess I want to know who you guys picked as your person. We know who we picked as Happy Hour Hoops national champion last week. Who did you pick for your personal brackets as national champion? I know Steve shared it in a tweet earlier, but
yeah, I took the Gators. I was, I was a little scared off them.
Yeah,
I was a little scared off them because a lot of people hopped on Florida. But I told you guys, like, the past 2 months that I've been watching, they've been the best team, and it's one of those things where sometimes you can't get scared. Last year, I got a little bit scared because I saw everyone's on UConn. I'm like, I'll just go a different champion. That didn't work out. Sometimes you just got to go with what you see. So I did end up going with Florida. I think we talked about this on Sunday, but I do feel like it's going to be a more chalky Final Four. The one thing I did switch, though, is I know we talked about Gonzaga possibly upsetting Houston, and they look great today. I did have Houston going deep because I love this Houston team. And it's the Houston, grind you down, great defense, physical, but now they're also fourth best in the country at 3-pointers.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. I had kind of the same strategy as you, where it was like, there's a team here where if I don't just pick this team who's really good, I'm gonna feel dumb, and it's really because of one reason. I picked Duke to win because if Cooper Flagg's healthy and is ready to go, I'm just thinking that team is too loaded to get stopped by anybody. So that's where I ended up. I had Duke and believe it was Duke and Michigan State in the final, but I did have Florida in the Final Four against Michigan State. So I still believe in the Gators, but I did the same thing. I jumped off because everybody jumped on to Florida, but then I on ESPN it's like 25% of the brackets have Duke winning, so I just jumped on to another favorite. But I just think they're so damn good. So
no, I completely get that.
I will say I have 4 brackets on ESPN, and then one of my buddies in our fantasy football group chat, we use Yahoo, and he sent one on Yahoo just because he knew everyone would be able to fill it out easily. And I did take Duke in that one, just for a little hedge, because I have Florida, Duke, and all my other brackets. So
I've changed up strategies year by year, Donnie. And this year I filled out one bracket for everything. So I'm living or dying by my bracket. I didn't do any differentiation at all.
It's very hard to follow otherwise. was.
Yeah, I do that like any pool. I submit the same one in, but I'll make other ones just for the hell of it. I will say though, I do an annual coin flip one every year, and it's usually a disaster. And I had a couple 16 seeds winning and some wild Final Fours. However, the coin flipped Florida. So if that was any like confirmation of, all right, just go with Florida, I was like, if I coin flipped the team that I thought was going to win the ship for the past 2 months, I can't go off them now.
That's true.
So when Norfolk State wins tomorrow and we have to talk next Thursday, you'll know why.
Before we get to NBA stuff, out of the teams who have already played today, who do you think leaving today has like the biggest 180 turnaround in a positive way? I think it's between, I guess not a turnaround because I think people like Gonzaga, but I guess just like who has like the best outlook moving on in this tournament. I think Creighton has a case here, as much as we don't like them, Steve. But I think Gonzaga's also up for that. But curious who you guys think.
I'm interested in Creighton too, because a lot of, I feel like the Creighton stuff and where the Big East was seated is we just don't know how good the Big East was. Like you give Johnny's the credit because the 30-4 record and everything else, but like Creighton's been a good team, but we don't know like compared to the rest of the competition. So it very well could be a thing where it's just a game with Auburn because Creighton's actually just a little underseeded and they're a really good team. And brings a fight to them. I don't hate that idea at all.
I'm gonna stay with Wisconsin. I think this is
you
a team
love these Badgers.
Yeah, people just kind of I think overreacted.
How do you feel about playing BYU in the second round in Denver, where I feel like that's going to be mostly BYU fans for a quick little drive from Provo there.
I mean, it's technically a road game, but if we're talking about like road games, look at what happened with Creighton against Louisville when it was pretty much a true road game there. So I don't look too much into it. Also, Wisconsin has had, I think they were pretty good on the road this year and neutral courts. They had a really good out-of-conference resume. And like I said, I trust the team that has size, that can get boards, those extra possessions. They shoot the three ball well. And this is a team that shoots 82.6% from the free throw line, which is, if the season ended today, the greatest single season free throw percentage for a team. They also got a guy who can take over games in Tanjay. I really like this Wisconsin team. And I look at BYU. Yeah, they're a fun team, but they're an offensive team. They're not the best defensive team. If they get to Sweet 16, it would be a potential playing like an Alabama, right? It's an Alabama, or it's like a Vanderbilt, St. Mary's, which I don't think they'd have issues against either of those. Alabama, great offensive team, not great defensive team. And then this is a Wisconsin team that I think actually has kind of the size to play a good competitive game against a Duke if they were able to go up against a Duke. And I know, as much as we talk about how good Duke is, I'm not going to just write Duke into the Elite Eight potential matchup, because I think Arizona's playing their best basketball all year long. And I think Arizona, who's gave Houston a couple good tough fights, could give Duke a good fight. So I look at Duke's region kind of as an opportunity if Cooper Flagg isn't 100%, and I think Wisconsin is the perfect kind of team that could capitalize on that and be a surprise Final Four, even though they've had the resume and kind of the numbers back them up as a top 10 team this year.
Yeah, I like it more than Bama too, if we're talking about that bottom side of that.
Kind of how I feel as well.
Me too.
So.
And I know we were just saying to not judge Wisconsin on the end of the conference tournaments, but I'm kind of doing that with Alabama because I don't know. I just did not see.
Bama's just been weird all year. It's like they've been good, but they're just there's something off about the team this year where they don't feel like I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. It just feels off this year.
They don't. Well, I don't want to say they don't play defense, because they will try to force steals and blocks and turnovers, whatever. But they give you a lot of open shots because they play such an aggressive style of selling out for those steals and blocks and rebounds. So you get a lot of opportunities to get easy baskets or open shots. So Bama scares me against teams that can shoot. And if you look in the SEC this past season with Bama, a lot of the games they lost is because the first half they were shooting well, and then Bama has their typical, little cold stretch. But unlike Bama's team last year or even previous years where they could overcome that kind of with their defense, that hasn't been the case this year. So that's kind of why out on Bama against a team like Wisconsin that I think will shoot well for the majority of the game. And like I said, they're going to make the freebies and they're going to get boards, extra possessions, and make your free throws. You're good in my book.
Yeah. Once I saw Bama give up 104 to Florida too, I was like, well, these guys get scored on, don't they? So
yeah.
I think that's why I would like Wisconsin in a matchup there too. All right, is that going to do it for college ball? I mean, we got so much more after this. I'm sure anyone who's listening is also watching college basketball as we speak right now, and that's what we want from you guys. Just do it. We talked about at the top. If you have work, it's okay. Throw it on your phone. Throw it on a side screen. I had it on my laptop at lunch today, and then when I had to walk away from my desk, I just kept my laptop open with the game on, just in case anyone else in the office wanted to browse over.
Put one headphone in. Get the West. Even if you gotta listen to it, Westwood One radio. They do the whip around.
Bro, I had it in my sweatshirt pocket, and like when I'd have to go into the warehouse or I'd have to leave my desk or something, I put the volume on in my sweatshirt pocket as I'm walking around.
Hell yeah.
Got it, man. Got it. It's March Madness. Come on now.
Thankfully, today was a work from home day for me. Usually I'm in on Thursdays, but we were in yesterday, and I was like, this is glorious. Because you guys know last year I told you I was listening to Westwood One. It's chained to my desk in the office, and it just didn't feel right. Today it felt I had it locked in 11:15 Central for tip off of Louisville Creighton. It's been a beautiful day, and tomorrow will be great too.
So we'll have more college ball stuff on socials for the rest of the weekend, and then next week obviously we'll be talking more college ball. Let's do a little NBA here to end the show. No NBA last week, so we'll do a little catch up. It is the final stretch of the NBA season. A lot of things happening here. Start with some news. Trey Murphy just add another injury to the Pelicans list, because this has just been a year from hell for them. Trey Murphy out for the season. Two guys on this list, Steve, are on my fantasy basketball team going up against you in the semifinals here. So this is not great for me. Trey Murphy out for season. Domantas Sabonis out at least 10 days. Those are the two guys. Yeah. Oh, actually, all three of these guys. I forgot I had Paul George too. So.
No.
Paul George also out for season. If you're a Sixers fan or a fan of my NBA fantasy team,
that is a danger of fantasy basketball. Is like my injury lineup, my injury list in this league is Wemby, Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Karis LeVert. Like those are all players I could very well use some points and who fill up the stat sheet as well. Giddey.
I got my injuries out at the start. We got Luka back, and I got Denny Advia dropping 30, 15, and 5 on Dunny's head right now. Denny Advia might be the fantasy MVP right now, what he's doing for Portland. This guy.
I went to bed last night, and I was like, I made it close. And then I woke up, and Advia fucking put me in a body bag.
Like 63 fantasy points. I was like, this guy, man.
That's absurd, dude.
Dude, he's been insane lately.
Yeah, my all-injured team is Sabonis, Lou Dort, Paul George, Kyrie Irving, Jared McCain, and Trey Murphy.
Yeah, that's tough. I'll give you there, Dunny. That's tough. I got who's my hurt right now? Lively, Herb Jones, and that's it. So we got healthy at the right time. I got Quentin Grimes too, who if the Mavs trade you away, you're gonna be a dog. So these guys I got as like budget guys are now just in roles where it's like, just do your thing. So it's been working.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's our little fantasy basketball update. It's also injuries around the league. A positive injury news is Anthony Davis was designated to the Mavs G League team. I know we talked about last time we talked about AD that he was considering shutting it down, and they're saying people in his circle. Those were the discussions going around because ultimately, if Kyrie's out for season, don't rush it. Don't risk it. Don't risk your next season if the Mavs probably don't have, the brightest future for this season. But this is a good sign, you would think, for coming back.
Yeah.
And the Mavs are very much still in the play-in. The bottom of the West is an absolute nightmare, but they're there.
They just keep falling, man. They just keep falling. I'm getting nervous that they're
Yeah,
probably.
but Phoenix will do anything to also not be.
I know you're not wrong there, Duddy. Yeah, it's they're tied with Phoenix right now, right? Phoenix has, I think, the tiebreaker, so they get in currently, but they're tied. I mean, we'll see. I
With
would,
the Sabonis injury, the Kings are only 2 games ahead on both those teams. If Sabonis is out,
right,
for
completely different team.
Yeah.
It turned into a shit
team
show.
without
It turned
Sabonis.
we were talking about how strong the West was before the trade deadline, and now this play-in race is like this is a year we don't need the play-in. We could just stick with the top 8, and that would be the right thing to do in both conferences at this point. Because like Orlando should be the 8 seed in the East, or Atlanta. One of those teams should be the 8 seed. And Minnesota or the Clippers should be the 8 seed, and that should be it. Those are the teams who are worthy of the playoffs. Like the Kings, Phoenix, Dallas, they don't belong in the playoffs at this point. Really, like if they're going to be under 500 teams and stars are out and they're a mess, like I'm not saying this is not like an anti-play-in rant. I'm just saying like there's years where we don't really need it. I wonder if there's like a way we could. They're never going to do this because it's like TV deal, whatever. But if there was like a cutoff for it, like if you're under 500, you can't make a play it. Like something like that. Like you shouldn't get an opportunity. Like if you're Phoenix and you're gonna be like 38 and 40, whatever, 38 and 44, like you shouldn't get a play-in game as the 10 seed, in my opinion.
Well, especially Phoenix, the example, just because they straight up just do not want to play, and
exactly.
Kevin Durant is one.
Wendy has told us Durant's like already been traded this offseason.
Yeah, one Suns away game from just literally doing the Homer Simpson to Bart Simpson to Mike Budenholzer on the sideline. Like we are one bad stretch away from that, because there's just a new clip every day of KD just screaming at Coach Bud on the sideline. But just to go, I like that you mentioned the West there, Jake, because just to go down the line here, like the Thunder, that they keep winning. The Rockets have actually, held this 2 spot, which a lot of people thought, I know they fell out for a little bit and then they kind of took it back. So the Rockets are still hanging around doing their thing. The Lakers, even without LeBron, Luka is just in fucking full form as Luka.
Yeah, yes.
He has looked awesome lately,
dude. You see him chirp the fan last night.
I was just about to say that. Back to talking shit. Like this is the Luka that we expect. And he's doing it with LeBron sideline, and they hold the 3 seed right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end there, because the 4 seed Denver has actually dropped a few games, and they haven't looked great. They've had some weird losses. I know they had the big win against Golden State without Jokic and Murray, and that vintage Russ game that he was our happy hour hooper of the night that night. I was very pleased to be able to post that. We love Russ on this pod, but Nuggets, definitely some question marks there with Jokic missing a few games and them heading to the final stretch with not much depth on their team. Memphis kind of collapsing here. Some injuries here and there for their guys. And then Golden State, the 6th seed, they're climbing. The Clippers are the 7th seed. They're climbing. Like you have Jimmy Butler version of the Warriors, and they're fucking awesome. Fun to watch. Draymond seems like he's all the way motivated again. Draymond just lying again, but said that he's in the Defensive Player of the Year award race, which I don't agree with, but Draymond's going to give himself awards because of course he is. And I guess the 6, 7, 8, like Clippers are climbing because Kawhi has actually been playing. He's looked great. And then the Timberwolves, like they seem like they have a new energy about them. Ant seems happy again. Naz Reid keeps doing his thing. They have DiVincenzo and Randall back now. So the West, until you get to those teams that we were just talking about, and I think the Mavericks, it's not really their fault. Like they're just crazy banged up. Yeah. But the West is just fucking insane right now.
If you're the Thunder, who would you least want to play out of the Warriors, Clippers, Timberwolves right now?
The least? I mean, everyone seems to think that the Warriors match up best. But yeah. I think that might.
I would say the Warriors. Yeah,
I'm thinking the Warriors too.
You don't want to play. You don't want to play Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry in the
that's what I'm saying.
Especially in round 1 when those two are as fresh as they can be in a playoff run. You don't want to run into them.
That's kind of how I feel too. I mean, I don't think they'll get the Warriors. I think the Warriors are just going to keep winning and they'll stay out of the play-in. But
No
damn,
one's gonna
man,
want
they're
the
looking.
Warriors. If the
They're
Warriors
surprising all
are,
of us.
I mean, I'll tell you what. If it's any three of those teams, I don't like that's not an easy series. I
No,
think
you don't feel good.
they'd probably want to play the Clippers the most. But I mean, if the Clippers get this Kawhi for a 7-game series,
it's
fingers
different.
crossed, knock on wood. whatever
Right
you
now
gotta
it's
do if you're a
Warriors
Clippers
Lakers.
fan.
Today it's Warriors Lakers. I mean,
Adam Silver knows what he's doing, man.
That would be one of the craziest first-round playoff series.
couldn't even imagine.
I mean, all these would be.
I'm
great
nervous
to
thinking
start.
about it.
Thunder, Timberwolves. If it's the 1-8, Clippers, Rockets, Warriors, Lakers, and then Nuggets, Grizzlies. Like
That'd be a great playoff
Rockets
series.
Clippers for the James Harden factor of it all too is
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah,
Very
and
interesting. Jokic and Jaren Jackson going at
Yeah.
each other for a series would be so much fun. I would admit if it is Magic Cavs on the other side, I would not be. That's going to go like 6 games, and it's going to be a very annoying series.
you're
The
still
Magic
for
are
the
not
Magic.
an 8 seed, bro. They're not an 8 seed. They just had injuries all year. That's
Yeah.
why I don't want them to be the 8 seed, because they're a team who I think is more like a 4, 5, 6 seed in this East, who just had their 2 best players get the same, like a fucking 2K sim, had the same injury back to back for some reason,
Right.
and now they're gonna be getting more healthy, and they just played a good game against the Cavs Sunday. But here's the thing, I'm not worried. I'll do my mini Cavs rant
I was
here.
gonna say,
take
get
the
into it. Cavs.
No,
Cavs
no,
lose
because I've
3
had
straight,
I got
Jake.
texts.
Let's hear
I
it.
got texts from in the group chat. I got my buddy at work who's
Brad
from
had to have been
Cleveland.
hitting you up.
It wasn't even no. The Cavs fans in the group chat freaking out about the Cavs game. I got my buddy at work yesterday who's a Cavs fan. He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm like, listen, if there's a time that you want to go on a slide, it's when you've already won 56 games and it's March and you're sitting. Like Donovan Mitchell's played like 26 minutes the last 3 games each game. Before that, he wasn't even playing. Like they got him on a pitch count. They're just letting Mobley go out there. They're not showing anything. They're just shooting a ton of threes and they're just running the offense through Mobley. They're not putting anything like actual on tape for you to look at for basically the last month of the season. And then when they go into a playoff series, I'm sure that Kenny Atkinson has something dialed up that we haven't even seen from them at all. And Cavs fans are acting like this 3-game thing is like, oh, well, that just means that whoever Wendy's right and all these guys are right, they can't get it done. It's like, who cares? Why do we care what's happening on March 20th when they've already won 55 games? It's like, what's the
Right.
sample size here? The multiple 15-game win streaks or this 1 3-game slide when the regular season, the point of the regular season at this point is stay healthy and get to the playoffs.
Well, and the 3-game slide came after a ridiculously long winning streak. And this is a team, right, that had a 9-game cushion in the East to the Celtics. Now it's 6, but still, when you have that cushion, you really think those guys are going 110% every game?
Not
No
at all.
chance. They're like, okay, we got to look towards the playoffs now. I don't blame the Cavs
Bro,
for
the
that.
other day, Don was sitting on the sideline last game. He was just sitting there eating a box of popcorn. Bro could not have cared less in the world. He's just fucking chowing down every time.
Right.
They kept going to the sideline, and Don just has his box of popcorn. I'm like, this is the Cap. This is the epitome of that.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, see me in April.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of that too is what Steve mentioned, the cushion, right? Because I think Atkinson probably and all the guys are probably looking over at the Celtics, seeing all the guys that the Celtics are sitting from night to night. And, Jalen's been banged up, and obviously Porzingis is back now, but they were real cautious bringing Porzingis back. Jalen's been having some rest nights. I think Tatum and on Monday night, Tatum and Brown both sat out for the first game all season that both of them sat. So I think you're, looking at the only team that can catch you and be like, well, if they're kind of coasting, we don't have to go all out to hold this 1 seed. I think they're pretty confident they're going to hold that. I think just any fan base of any team that's this good and has been this good all year, like you guys haven't lost 3 straight all year. I don't even know if you guys had lost 2 straight before this stretch.
I don't know if they had lost 2
just
straight.
the Hawks. I think it was the back-to-back to the Hawks. That was it, right?
Oh, that's right. Back-to-back to the Hawks. But there's a back-to-back West Coast swing where the Clippers game Clippers are a good team, and the Kings game was close. Like down, it was down the stretch, battle back and forth. The next 4 games,
Magic was
guys.
close.
Yeah.
The Magic was close too. The next 4 games,
Yeah.
they play the Suns, as we talked about quick, Utah, Portland, and then they host San Antonio. So if they don't get it right, if they don't get it right after this, I'll be concerned. They should win 4 in a row here, and then and be fine. And back.
If they lose a couple of those games, I'm gonna be texting you some 1-seed shit, bro.
Yeah, yo, listen.
Don't doubt Denny Advia on the Portland Trailblazers. That guy's about to go 30, 15, and 5 on your head, man.
Listen, Scoot had the breakout game, the game where I believed again a couple weeks ago against the Knicks. So Portland's kind of fun.
I'll fall in love with them again next year. Guaranteed.
I want Coop to end up there. That's my number one Coop spot. Besides the Spurs, who are obviously the number 1 spot, but Portland would be like just revive. We need Portland to be a good team. Portland's too good of a fan base and too good of a market to just be like existing in the ether. We need them to have some relevancy. So Coop out there would do wonders. He'd fit perfectly next to Advia and Scoot. Like he just kind of gel whatever he needs to do. And
It'd be a fun team, yeah.
It would be a really fun young team. Yeah, I would like that a lot. I really just don't want him
let Klingon play, man.
Klingon and Rob Will, dude. Come on.
Yo, does anybody want DeAndre? Like, who wants DeAndre?
The Suns, bring him back. They'll do anything to lose at this point. No, it's not. No, it's not. DeAndre 8 was holding the Suns together.
Trade KD to the Blazers for DeAndre, and then that's your duo, Beal and Ayton on the Suns next year. That's solves all the problems.
32 wins, not even like 26 wins.
On a more serious note, the Celtics sold for $6.1 billion today.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
The largest sports sale in North America, which is a funny way that Shams put it. But the Commanders sold most recently for just under this price. And yeah, Celtics, I actually was already awake. I didn't wake up to it. I was at work, got the news. This was something that was stressing me out because the Eagles owner was involved for a minute there, and then he dropped out shortly after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, which I don't blame him. Like, right, kind of focus on your Super Bowl championship team and go from there. You don't really need a distraction. You're doing one thing exceptionally well. You don't need to go and buy the Boston Celtics. When he dropped out, I was a little worried because I was excited about him because he went to school in Massachusetts, grew up a Celtics fan, and obviously knows what the fuck he's doing. Like he spends for the Eagles. They just won a championship. I was all excited for that. I was, worried someone would come in with the Saudi money and try to make a Celtics live golf, and just so many possibilities could go there when the Saudis get involved. Like you question if it's just a money thing, and they have all the money in the world, so you don't worry about the spending there, but you just worry about if they care about the Boston Celtics, and that was my biggest thing. But then Bill Chisholm comes along. He's a managing partner at Symphony Technology. Grew up a Celtics fan, and he's super rich. So this was ultimately the last candidate, one of the last 4 guys who was actually a positive, I thought, and he ends up landing the Celtics. He's keeping the current owner, Wick Grossbeck, around for a CEO role, so I like that as well. And, he's just come out today and talked about how he's a Celtics fan. He's basically just saying all the right things, right? He's saying all the media things. He's saying all the things the Celtics fan want to hear. He wants to bring championships now and in the future. So it's all good on that front. Chris Mannix was actually reporting yesterday because he thought the Celtics were at a standstill, and he said yesterday that the Celtics are the league is eager to have the Celtics sale happen because I guess, and I wasn't even thinking of this, but I guess Adam Silver's talked to people and been saying, like, he's kind of waiting for this domino to fall because this is all dependent on what the expansion franchise will go for, just so they kind of have a ballpark.
Oh yeah,
so
that expansion fee is going to be like $9 billion or something at this rate, bro. It's going to be
this could be the first domino in us getting an additional or multiple new teams in the NBA. So I thought that was a cool wrinkle. Like we have that now. Celtics sale happens right before the playoffs. The playoffs will happen, and maybe during the playoffs we get some buzz about a Vegas or a Seattle. I still want the Seattle return, and I know the fans in Seattle want that too. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff. I'm excited though, and hoping not too much changes, but the Celtics also might be able to get their own arena at this point now because they're still renting through TD.
You love the Garden, though.
I know.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
can't
you
leave.
love the
They
Garden.
can't
Though. You
leave
can't leave the
the.
Garden.
They can't leave the TD
I
Garden.
know. I'm so torn about that. I was talking to people at work about that, and we were saying how like it would be cool, and like the Celtics have their own home, but it's like the Celtics have their home. It's like the fans who go there, they don't. Care
Do they
that
not
the Celtics
get?
are leasing that?
Do they not get the prime dates? Do the Bruins get to pick all the prime dates though?
I don't know.
That's
I don't know how
that's
that works,
the
if I'm
issue
being
with it.
honest
Is
with you.
if that was the thing with the Clippers, why they the Clippers I mean the Clippers had way more beef than the Celtics would have, obviously, but the Clippers were never got to select any prime basketball dates because the Lakers own the arena, so they would have to pick Sunday
neither of them own
afternoon
it.
during football season
Right.
and stuff like that. So yeah, so now the Kings, or is it the Kings that own? What do you mean? Staples?
Oh no, I was talking about the Bruins
Who
nor
owns
the
the-
Celtics own it.
Who owns the
They
who owns the
lease
arena?
it. For, TD Bank, I believe, owns
Oh,
it.
the
and
bank owns
leases
it themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, so I wonder how they do it then. So I wonder if it's like a draft that they have to do certain nights or everything. But that's the
Yeah,
appeal to having it yourself, you would think, for the Celtics is we can decide when Celtics games are prime
Mhm.
time now. We don't have
And
to
I
share
think a
that with the
revenue thing,
Bruins at all.
it's always the money, right? Like I think if they have their own arena, then all profit
They can
goes
more
back
concerts.
to the Celtics.
Mhm.
There's more. I mean, I could see it, but that would be crazy if they would have to name it a garden. I mean, you'd have to name
I
it
know.
the
I'm almost hoping like they could just buy out the building and be like, no, this is ours now.
this is ours
Just
now.
keep
Yeah.
it.
The
Yeah.
Bruins, you'd have to help the Bruins build an arena or something. I don't know.
True. And there's not real estate in Boston. Like those who have visited
That's
the
the
city, like
thing.
there's not just
That's what I was gonna
open
say. That's what
lots
I was
that-
just gonna ask you. Where are they gonna build this brand new
And that's my other
arena
worry. So like I
with
hope
already
at
the
least-
infrastructure that is built into getting to TD and everything in the city?
That's why I hope it stays put for a little bit. But like I don't want like an arena in Foxborough like the Patriots have. Like that
That would be
just-
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even any
would
like even
suck.
any suburb outside the city, it just wouldn't be the same. I think you need to
Yeah.
have the Celtics in downtown Boston. Like
Yeah.
that has to be it.
Well, it sounds like this guy's got the right idea in mind. I think that you can't do that. In football, it's different. You can do that with football. Like the Bears are talking about moving to suburbs out here too, and it makes sense for tailgating purposes. Like it's
Yes.
8 games,
Mhm.
and it's like a meeting place for a whole region of people. Like it's 42
Right.
nights. You want that in your city, or 41 nights. You want that in your city where it's bustling and you can have some impact economically. So yeah, you can't be Celtics games in Foxborough would be so sad.
Yeah, I will not.
They're
stand
moving
for that.
Hartford. That's where you could do it.
No.
The Hartford Celtics.
Tony's out.
What do you
Tony's
mean?
out.
The Manchester Celtics? Come on now.
No. We spent some time on the West. I know me and Jake kind of just ranted about our teams respectively there. Steve, did you have anything from the Eastern Conference, or either of you guys for just Eastern Conference in general?
Not really. I still think it's just a 2-team race in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I'm just counting down the days till it's you and me face to face.
Yeah.
Back to where we should be in the East. That's really all it comes down to.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I also, Jake, I don't think you need to worry about the Magic, man. I'm gonna be.
No, I'm not actually worried. It's just annoying
I
if
don't-
they're going to
yeah.
be the 8 seed. I think the Cavs are perfect. The Cavs are going to smoke the first 2 teams they play. They're so much better than any of those.
I agree.
Well, because that's what
So-
I was thinking. Like I was like, you can't be worried about the Magic because I'm looking at the East standings, and if the Celtics get the Hawks or the Magic, I think that's a whomping, no matter who it is.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Bulls.
I'm
and the
very
Heat,
excited. I just want you guys to dice up the Knicks. I want it to be a sweep of the Knicks.
Me too.
Like, it would be beneficial for the Cavs if it was like a long series and knockdown, drag out. But personally, I just want the Celtics to smoke the New York Knicks. It'd be the funniest possible option. We could just both sweep both our teams in the second round and then just have like a week off, build up some tension leading up to the Eastern Conference Finals, and let the West just go crazy and do battle with each other. That's my honestly best case scenario.
I would also love that. The thing people aren't talking about the Knicks, I feel like the Brunson thing isn't nothing, right? Like he was missing a week.
Yeah.
That since the last report, it's probably been another week, but they said he was going to miss another 1 to 2 weeks. So we're probably.
Who would have thought when you play your guys 38 minutes a game every single night for years or year over year that injuries would pop up? And I can't believe Mikal Bridges like stood up. Did you see that story? I think I sent it to you guys a couple weeks ago.
I did see that, and then
Like-
they apparently squashed the beef, and then Mikal hit the game winner. So I feel like it kind of got swept under the rug, but
Exactly, yeah. But
it's not nothing, dude. That like
No.
at this point of the season, you know, one of the guys who you brought in to take this team to the promised land, who
Just saying
hasn't
that.
really been a huge factor this year. You know,
a guy that's
speaks
been to the
out.
finals.
Yeah. And speaks out on like a very obvious issue that fans have pointed out for years. You know, media personalities around the NBA have pointed out for years. And here they are with a pretty good opportunity. I mean, yeah, it sucks the Cavs and the Celtics are in front of you this year, but this is a great Knicks team, a great Knicks offense. And
Knicks
then
fans can't bitch about it. If they've been talking all this shit, if it all comes down to we get the Celtics in a playoff series and a chance to beat them, they can't complain. There's
Right.
your opportunity right here. Go beat you said all offseason we're built to beat the Celtics.
Yeah, OG
now.
and
Like, our
Mikal
team's
with
built.
the J
Yeah,
stoppers.
the J stoppers, blah blah blah. If you have the opportunity and you fumble it, that's on you guys.
Yep.
Nothing else.
Yeah, so we'll see. Bucks are kind of climbing.
Yeah, I
It is
mean,
interesting.
you got to
Giannis
help him
is-
out. She'll be all right.
Yeah,
Kuzma
he's in a
hit
mode.
5 threes the other night. I had to
Ugh.
triple take. at the
Kuzma
Bucks.
did add, like, honestly, switching out
I-
Middleton for Kuzma, like, he's not great, but he did add some pop to that.
It's helped.
lineup
Yeah, he
that
did.
They needed.
I hate
Bobby
saying
Portis
that,
is
but
coming
it
back
has.
playoffs. They haven't even had
Yeah.
Portis.
True. I didn't even think of that. You're right.
Yeah.
So interesting down the stretch. Bottom of the East is just gross. I'm not even going to talk about it.
Don't need
Pistons.
to.
I don't mean to put the Pistons in with that. The Pistons are good.
If the Bulls are the
Pistons-
9th seed,
no,
though, I
no,
might
no,
have
no, no,
to-
don't give the Pistons a good thing. The Pistons have been good in the regular season. You're not winning a playoff game when you have Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris in your lineup. I'm sorry, it's
Nah,
not
they-
happening.
they-
You are not built for the postseason with those two players getting regular minutes. So I'm done with the Pistons. Cade's having a fantastic season.
So
They're not winning a single game in the postseason.
Wow,
Not
getting
a single
swept by the Knicks.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
all right.
That'd be awesome.
That
That'd be great
yeah.
too. Oh my God, the
that's
Knicks sweep the Pistons, and then the Pistons get swept by the
Knicks get swept by the Cavs
Celtics.
or Celtics. Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome. Then we have to finish up a little bit better there, but
Then it goes 7,
Isn't
and
this
I
great,
get
guys?
nervous to go on the podcast with you guys during those 2 weeks.
I'm nervous right now thinking about it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
It's-
not. I
this
see.
is great,
Dunny's
though.
been
Let's-
ready. Here's the thing, Dunny. You've been reacclimated to like the title chase for like 4. Dunny's like the veteran of this. It's been 4 years of this. He's been locked in. I've been out of this game. It's the only
Yeah.
sport I've been able to be in this game, and I've been out of it for a while, long time, and out of it from having a chance for even longer. Like making the finals in 2017, 2018 was like that was the win. Good job, guys. Like you did it. Season over, nothing else happened, right? Like they didn't play the NBA finals that year. So this is different. This is new territory for me. I don't know how I'm going to react yet. We'll see how it is.
Yeah, we desperately need that Cavs Celtics ECF, but we'll see.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, this was awesome. We got to watch ball all day, talk college ball to start, talk NBA, get off and watch both. So it's awesome.
Arguably the
Quick
best
score
weekend in
check-ins.
sports coming up.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Just 3 straight days of just
Yeah.
nonstop basketball from noon to midnight. How can you top that?
can't. You can't hate it. Tennessee's up. Kansas is up by 3 on Arkansas. A&M, it's early still, but A&M out to an 11-point lead on Yale. And then right after we hop off here, Missouri Drake should be tipping off.
Good stuff, man.
I'm excited for this night's slate. Time to lock in.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you to everyone listening. Shout out to Trainwreck Sports. Thank you, Steve, Jake, and myself. Signing off. See you later, guys.
See ya.